Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speak English podcast. My name is Marco.
And my name is Erica.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We dive into an interesting topic about talking about your hometown.
We're really excited about this episode because we're going to talk about a topic everyone has a personal connection to, our hometowns.
That's right. It's one of those topics that comes up all the time in conversations. Whether you're meeting someone for the first time, traveling, or just chatting, people often ask, "So where are you from?" And suddenly you find yourself talking about your hometown.
Exactly. We thought it would be great to explore how to talk about your hometown in English, diving into details, stories, memories, and even a few fun facts. By the end of this episode, you'll be ready to talk about your own hometown with confidence, and maybe even feel a little more connected to where you're from.
That's the goal. So, Erica, why don't we get started? Tell me a little bit about where you're from.
Gladly. I'm from a small town in the Midwest called Cedar Valley. It's one of those places where everyone knows everyone. It's got this great combination of natural beauty with rolling hills and tons of trees and a strong community vibe. People there are friendly, and it has that classic Main Street feel.
I can already picture it. Small town America with a main street that has, let me guess, probably a diner, a small grocery store, maybe a town hall.
You're spotting, Marco. We even have a little movie theater that shows older movies on weekends. It's not super fancy, but it's cozy and has this charm you just can't find in big cities. So what about you, Marco? Where's home for you?
I'm from Genoa, Italy. It's a port city, one of the oldest in Europe, with a history that goes back over 2,000 years. There's a mix of everything in Genoa: ancient buildings, narrow alleyways, big bustling markets. It's the kind of place that's full of life and history at every corner.
Wow, that sounds incredible. I can't even imagine growing up surrounded by so much history. Did you live near the water?
Yes, growing up near the port was amazing. We could smell the sea air all the time, and there was always this bustling energy with boats coming in and out. The Mediterranean has this beautiful blue color, and there's something magical about seeing ships from all over the world dock at the harbor. It's like a constant reminder that the world is bigger than your own backyard.
That sounds so beautiful. I love that idea of a hometown that's part of a larger world, like you're always connected to something bigger. Cedar Valley is definitely more, well, how can I put it, isolated or itself? We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by farmland and forest. But that's what makes it feel like a true escape from everything.
I think there's something to be said for both, honestly. Being from a small, tight-knit town has its charm too. People in big cities sometimes miss out on that sense of community where everyone really looks out for each other.
Totally. I remember growing up, my neighbors were practically family. If you needed a cup of sugar, you just popped over to someone's house, no problem. And everyone knew everyone's business, for better or worse.
Oh yes, I can relate. In Genoa, even though it's bigger, we have something similar in certain neighborhoods. The alleys, called Karugi, are narrow and winding, so you often run into the same people every day, and you get to know each other. It's a bit like having a big extended family spread across the city.
That's amazing. Speaking of family, did your family have any particular traditions tied to Genoa? Maybe something unique that only people from Genoa would understand?
Oh yes, definitely. One big thing is our pesto. Genoa is the birthplace of pesto alla Genovese, and we take it very seriously. Growing up, my family had this little tradition of making homemade pesto every Sunday. We'd use fresh basil, pine nuts, garlic, parmesan, and olive oil, all ground together in a mortar and pestle. No shortcuts.
Wow, that sounds delicious. I think I'd get hungry every Sunday just smelling it. There's something about family food traditions that really connects you to where you're from, Corson eaters. In Cedar Valley, we have our own kind of food culture, though maybe not as ancient as Genoa's pesto.
I'm curious, what's a typical Cedar Valley specialty?
Oh, that's an easy one. We're all about comfort food, especially when it's cold out. I'd say a Cedar Valley classic is a good old-fashioned pot roast. My mom makes this amazing one with tender beef, carrots, potatoes, and onions. She slow cooks it all day. And by dinner time, the whole house smells like home.
That sounds so cozy. I think food like that is really at the heart of what makes a hometown feel special. It's amazing how those smells and tastes can bring you back to a place, even if you're halfway across the world.
Absolutely. Food is like a time machine. Even when I make pot roast here, it reminds me of family dinners, of everyone gathered around the table. And I know it's something that's shared across Cedar Valley. Most families I know have their own version of it.
It's amazing how food can connect people to a place and to each other. You know, speaking of memories, one of my favorite spots growing up in Genoa was the Piazza dei Ferrari. It's the main square of the city, and it has this beautiful fountain in the center. As kids, we'd run around the fountain pretending it was some magical portal or something.
A fountain as a portal? I love that. It sounds like you had such a playful childhood. I can almost picture little Marco running around with his friends.
Yep, that was me. The whole square was like our playground. And even now, when I go back, I can still feel that magic. I think every hometown has those kinds of spots, places that hold a piece of who you are. Do you have a spot like that in Cedar Valley?
Yes, definitely. For me, it's the Cedar Valley Park. It's this huge park with hiking trails, a lake, and picnic areas. It's where I learned to ride my bike and where my family would have 4th of July picnics every year. When I think of Cedar Valley, that park is one of the first places that comes to mind.
That sounds beautiful, especially that the idea of picnics by the lake. And I bet it's one of those places that changes with the seasons, right? I imagine the fall must be stunning with all the leaves turning color. And
Oh, you're absolutely right. Fall in Cedar Valley Park is breathtaking. The trees turn shades of red, orange, and yellow, and the whole park looks like it's on fire in the best way possible. It's one of those sights that never gets old, no matter how many times you see it.
I love that. Fall in Genoa is different. We don't get as many dramatic colors, but there's this unique golden light that hits the buildings, especially in the late afternoon. It gives the whole city this like warm, glowing feel. It's hard to describe, but it feels like the city itself is alive, breathing with the change in season.
That sounds so poetic, Marco. I think it's amazing how two places can be so different and yet hold the same kind of beauty in their own ways. It's like each hometown has its own soul, its own personality.
Exactly. And you know, that's what I love about traveling and meeting people from different places. You get to hear about all these unique details, the little things that make each place special. It's a reminder that there's so much diversity in the world, yet everyone feels connected to their hometown in a similar way.
Yes, that's so true. Speaking of diversity, did Genoa have a lot of people coming and going? I imagine being a port city, there must have been a constant mix of different cultures.
Oh, definitely. Genoa has always been a bit of a melting pot. We have people from all over Italy, but also from North Africa, South America, and other parts of Europe. There's this vibrant mix of languages and traditions. Growing up, I remember hearing Italian, Arabic, and Spanish all in the same market. It made me curious about the world beyond Genoa.
That's so interesting. Cedar Valley's pretty different in that regard. We're a small town, so the community is more homogeneous. Most people have lived there their entire lives, and everyone knows everyone else's family history. There's a lot of pride in that sense of heritage.
I can see the appeal of that too. Sometimes big, diverse cities can feel a bit impersonal. In a small town, you have that strong sense of identity, of continuity. Do you think that's something that shaped you growing up?
Oh, absolutely. I think growing up in Cedar Valley taught me a lot about the importance of community and family. When you're surrounded by people who know you and your family, there's a sense of accountability and support. I felt like I always had people looking out for me, which I realize now is a rare gift.
That's really beautiful, Erica. I think that's something every big city could learn from small towns, how to build those connections and keep that sense of community alive.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was younger, I thought it was annoying that everyone knew everything about everyone else. But now, looking back, I see how it really made us close. It's kind of like a big extended family.
I can totally see that. And honestly, even in Genoa, we have neighborhoods that feel like that. Like Um, my grandmother's neighborhood, for example, was very much like one big family. People would watch out for each other, and if someone needed help, the whole neighborhood would pitch in. There's something so special about that kind of closeness.
Absolutely. I think it's those experiences that make our hometowns feel like home, even if we've moved away or haven't been back in years. It's not just the place, but the people and the memories.
Exactly. Speaking of memories, do you have any favorite childhood memories from Cedar Valley? Something that really captures what it was like growing up there?
Oh, I have so many, but one that stands out is our winter sledding tradition. Cedar Valley gets a good amount of snow in the winter, and there's this big hill at the park that becomes the unofficial sledding spot. Every kid in town would be there with their sleds, and parents would bring hot chocolate in thermoses. It was this big community event, and it's one of those memories that really defines winter for me.
That sounds amazing. I can imagine the laughter, the bundled up kids, and that thrill of racing down the hill. It's those kinds of shared traditions that make childhood so magical.
Definitely. And it's funny, I still get a little thrill every time I see a sled or smell hot chocolate. It brings me right back to those snowy days in Cedar Valley. What about you, Marco? Any childhood memories that really capture life in Genoa?
One that comes to mind is the yearly festival we have called the Festa della Madonna della Guardia. It's held every August, and people hike up to this sanctuary on top of a hill overlooking the city. As kids, we'd get to camp out, watch the fireworks, and there'd be food stands everywhere. The whole city felt alive, and the view from up there was incredible.
That sounds magical. Hiking up a hill for a festival, camping, fireworks, food, it's like something out of a storybook. And the view of the city from the top must have been breathtaking.
It really was. You could see the whole city, the port, the coastline stretching out. It felt like you were on top of the world. That festival made me feel so connected to Genoa. It was a celebration of our city, our people, and our traditions.
I love that. I think every hometown has those unique traditions that might seem ordinary to the locals but are truly special. It's like they're woven into the fabric of the place, making it unique.
Let's move on to the next lesson, Erica, by
By Marco